Welcome to Authors Allies, the podcast where we dive into the world of authors, books, and the art of storytelling. Join us for in-depth interviews with celebrated authors, insightful book reviews, and practical tips on marketing your literary masterpiece. After 20 years publishing magazines, I, your host, Rebecca Pachorik, am so thrilled to be able to work within my dream of promoting authors and their books. Whether you're a seasoned writer or just starting your journey, we've got something for you. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's explore the fascinating world of books together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Authors Allies Roundtable podcast. Today, we are going to dive deep into a topic that is crucial for all independent authors, truly for all authors, right? Branding. We hear all the time, build your brand, build your platform. But what does that really mean? And how do you do it without feeling overwhelmed? Well, Authors Allies Roundtable is all about ditching the overwhelm. Let's break down the branding and how to figure it out. Okay, if you haven't gotten it yet, I have this free branding workbook that you can get. And this thing is long. It's like 43 pages, totally free. And I would like you to download that if you get a chance. I will put the link in the show notes. If not, grab a notebook and you can certainly take some notes. The first thing that you need to think about when it comes to your branding and any platform that you're going to do as an author is to think about your goals and your purpose. Okay, so why are you writing a book? Why did you write a book? Some authors truly write a book because they just want to get their information out there for the public, right? Like it's a passion project and it's just for funsies. Other people are writing a book to go along with their business, sort of like a book as your resume. And then there are the other authors who just really want to write and make that their career, right? So if you are a career writer, that's going to look different. So the first thing you need to do with your branding is think about your purpose and what you're doing. And again, you're going to want to take some notes on that. Feel free to, pause the video or the podcast anytime, write some things down, and then come back to it because we are going to go through these things kind of quickly. If you've got the workbook, there are pages in there that you can take a look at for that. So once you know what your goal is, right, with doing your book, then comes the most important part of knowing your reader. Okay, what do they like to read? What are they all about? Where are they hanging out? That's going to be coming really in handy, right? What genre are you writing to? Are you a writer that is writing to market? Or again, going back to that why, right? Like what is your person all about and what are you all about? I think this is really important because when you go to do the rest of your branding and your marketing, we're going to be directing that to your reader, right? And so we really need to know as much as possible about them. You can use AI for this. You can use past experiences. You can survey some of your current readers and find out what kinds of things they like, what magazines they're reading, what Facebook groups they're in, what social media in particular that they like. I mean, if all of your readers are on Snapchat, there's no reason for you to be in Facebook, right? So we really need to get to know our ideal reader, okay? And again, jot some notes on that, or you've got space in the workbook for that. So once you know who your reader is and you know where they're hanging out, this is when you start to dive a little bit deeper into things like your voice, right? So your voice is going to probably have, a certain feel to it. Like, are you going with I'm a fun person and whimsical? Are you going with I'm a serious person and this is serious information? Are you all about the dragons and the romanticy? Your voice is going to be dependent on you as a person and how you want to be portrayed, right, as an author, and also keeping those readers in mind. If you're writing kind of like profit first type of stuff or financial stuff. Obviously, you don't want to be whimsical and fun, because then you may not be seen as serious or someone that they are going to count on for that financial information, right? And so it's really important to get that brand voice sort of dialed in to go along with the rest of it. You'll notice we're very step by step here in how we do things. So once you kind of have that full background, right? That background on who you are, who your reader is, what your goals are in writing your books, where your people are hanging out. Now comes the more, what a lot of people think of as the fun part of the branding and the platform. This is when we start going into the actual look. Okay. And by look, I mean, do you have specific colors that are related to your brand? In addition to that, do you have a logo? A lot of independent authors will create their own publishing company per se, because it is going to look a lot better when you're going out after that publicity, right? A lot of times, people have still that little bit of a negative image for self-publishing. So a lot of self-published authors will have their own publishing name or an LLC. And so you may consider creating a logo that goes with your brand, right? And some authors will just have a logo out of their name. So either way is fine. Just make sure that you have a look, right? Even if it's just a specific font, you are going to want to have a certain look. So this is where things like the workbook are going to come in handy, or using Pinterest to come up with ideas, right? But you're going to be looking for your color palettes, and you want to have like probably 3 to 5 colors. You don't really want to choose too much more than that, because then it starts to be a little harder to tell what your branding is. In addition to those colors, you're going to be looking for your fonts. We talked briefly about that a moment ago. If you use something like Canva, which most of us are using now because it's just so stinking easy, right? They have a lot of good examples in there. They have a color palette generator. I believe they may even have a font generator. I will take a peek at that. And if so, I'll put that in the notes for you. But there are some fonts that play nicer with other fonts. Okay. For instance, you don't want to have curly looking font with another curly looking font, because that just doesn't really go, right? And so when you're looking at your fonts on top of your colors, you're going to be looking at something like a title font. So you're going to have one that you're going to use for headlines and like your bigger, bolder text if you're doing graphics. And then you want to have sort of like what we'll consider a subtitle font. And then you want to have another font that's going to be a little simpler that you would use for any paragraphs that you would be writing. So again, that's going to be called your font palette. So you have your color palette and you have your font palette. Once you have defined all of these things, this is when you then are going to take those things into consideration when you're doing your social media, your profiles, your headers. You're going to want to make it all sort of match, right? And then the same thing in your emails. You all know by now probably how important email is to me and how I think it is important to anyone trying to market right now. Email is owned by you, right? Same thing with your website. So as you're developing these very step-by-step pieces of your marketing suite and keeping all of that in mind, once you go to creating your website, creating even your simplest email template, you're going to gather all of these pieces and you're going to continue to keep using those in all of your branding. And again, the workbook, like I said, it's free and it's a lot of pages. It's more than you really need, I'm sure, but it will give you sort of the basics there. So once you get this branding together, that's when you can start having a little more fun when you're doing your social content. Now, I know for a while, the Instagram grid was a big thing and people were really trying to look at that and make it all matchy and pretty and like have the 9 grid stuff going. If you're a designer or if that's just a really fun thing for you, knock yourself out, feel free to do it. But that's not as much of a thing as people think, because ultimately people are looking at your feed. So unless they actually click to, go to your feed, then go to your profile, they're not really going to see that grid. So try to keep it as simple as you can. At the very least, you want to know, all of your background, right? You want to know your why. You want to know more about your reader, and then keep it as simple as possible. And you can always expand on that. If you're just getting started on this, then maybe just create a little fun look out of your name, pick just a few colors, and then pick 2 fonts. Again, don't make yourself crazy over this, because your goal is not to be a branding designer, right? Your goal is to write and sell your books. Let me say that again. Your goal is to write and sell your books. And granted, we want you to look as professional as you possibly can, particularly if you're an indie publisher. We want you to be able to stand up with the big guys and look just as good as they do. And it can happen, and you can take your time, and you can do it slowly, and you can do it step by step. Just make sure to do it. Okay, this is great information for you. I don't want to overwhelm you with more than this in this episode. Keep an eye out for the next episodes coming out. I've got another author interview coming up that you're going to really enjoy. And download the workbook. It's free if you need any help on that. If you need more help than what you're getting from the podcast or my blogs or any of the free videos, check out the website, because we do have the Authors Allies Roundtable Marketing Membership, where we are building these marketing pieces step by step with less stress as possible, so that you can still have plenty of time to write, have a job, and have a life. Again, stay tuned for the next episode. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or if you have any topics you'd really like me to talk about. See you next time. Have a great day.
That's all for this episode of Authors Allies. We hope you enjoyed our exploration of the literary world. Be sure to stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll have more fascinating interviews, book reviews, and marketing tips. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Leave us a review and share us with a friend. To get your free copy of our ebook, 10 Steps to Your Ultimate Book Marketing Plan, be sure to head over to our show notes. Until next time, happy reading and writing.